Do you have anything in your life that you feel like the anticipation for it is almost as good as the real thing, or even better? Like, I love winter break, but I have to say the anticipation of winter break, it's almost as good. Good morning, welcome. Eighth graders, we're really glad you're here at Bay to visit. Thanks for coming to Bay, welcome. At morning meeting, we'll hear from student voices, faculty voices, and occasional alum. Thank you. And this morning, we get to hear from a member of the sophomore class, Allison.
Cool. Okay. Hi, Bay. I'm Allison, and today I'm going to be telling you a story of a writer's journey. Some of you might know that I'm a writer, and out of those people, a few of you might know that I'm currently writing a book on climate change. If you didn't know that, well, now you do. And let me start off by saying that writing a book is not easy. I did not realize this when I started, and I dove in completely oblivious. Anyway, now that I've been writing this book for a while, I've learned a lot of things that have really helped me. Today I'm going to share them with you. Except before I can get to any of that, I have to tell you how it all started. Why was I even writing this book? So, it started this past summer, the summer of 2022. I was taking an online class with the Marine Mammal Center. The class I was taking was called OAC, or the Ocean Advocacy Collective. It was a way for people from all over the world to come together and learn more about ocean health. We discussed things like marine mammals, ocean conservation, and climate change. If you want to hear more about it, you can come talk to me or you can email me. Now, before we go further, I have to introduce you to a very important person. This is Joelle. She is the high school programs manager at the center, and she was my teacher during OAC. She's absolutely amazing, and this whole book would not have started without her, or OAC. Anyway, during one of our Zoom classes, we were sharing examples of things we were doing, or could be doing, to combat climate change. I remember this next moment very clearly. I said, well, I like writing, so I've been working on a few stories that could bring attention to climate change. Joelle was very excited, and she asked to see a draft. To this, I replied, sure, I'll have it by next week. So, I don't know if you all realize what I just did. Let me elaborate. At the time, I had nothing written down, and literally came up with the idea 2 days before that. This is what I had so far, and this was really just in my head. It was not written down yet. This is what I actually had written down, a 10-word idea of what to start with. To put this all into perspective, my class is on Tuesdays, so this orange cloud is when I came up with the idea, this purple smiley face is when I shared the idea, and this red X is when I promised to have it done. Still, somehow, when I came to class the next week, just 1 week from when I promised it, I had a good 30 pages of writing. Yes, 30 whole pages. 3-0. So, to understand how this happened, we have to go back in time to 2 seemingly small moments of my 9th grade year at Bay. The first moment was during my creative process class. One of the big assignments was an interview that would involve taking a risk. Also, shout out to Mr. Vossen for encouraging me to go for this, because I ended up being able to interview one of my heroes, Terry Monsieur, a hummingbird rehabilitator whose book I had read. It's called Fastest Things on Wings, Rescuing Hummingbirds in Hollywood, and I highly recommend it. So, during the interview, Terry told me something about writing that stuck with me ever since I heard it. She said, and I quote, "You have to do it consistently. A lot of these people, and especially young writers and novice writers, beginners, think, I'm not going to write until I feel the creative energy, until the muse inspires me. That's not how it works. The only way to write is to write every day or write consistently. The challenge is to keep writing, and then eventually, and out of the blue, those creative moments just appear like lightning." This part about writing consistently really stuck with me. It goes with my next moment too, which is about procrastination. Now, if you're thinking, these two things don't sound like they go together, you're right, they're kind of opposites. Still, they're both really important to think about. Okay, so procrastination. Everyone is a procrastinator at some level. Except me, because I'm special. I'm just kidding. I procrastinate stuff too. The second moment is a great example. It was during a particular ninth grade seminar where I had to leave early for a tennis match. I was going to miss the Tim Urban TED Talk video about procrastination. My teacher said he'd send me the video, and I remember famously saying, "Don't worry, I'll watch it later." So, this is how you achieve the master procrastinator achievement of procrastinating watching a video about procrastination. Anyway, a week goes by. I do not watch it. I don't even remember when I finally watch it, but one big takeaway stuck. That takeaway is this. There's a monkey in your head that likes to live in the moment and keep you from getting anything done. Then there's something called a panic monster that wakes up when you have a big deadline, when you realize, oh my gosh, I have to get this done by tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, for many people, the trigger for the panic monster is that actual deadline. When you think about this deadline fact, it makes sense why self-starting businesses or personal goals very rarely get done. There isn't anyone expecting anything from you. It's just you, so you can put it back to do later, aka never. Now, how exactly are these moments connected to me writing this book? Well, I wrote those 30 pages because I accidentally set a deadline for myself. I told people I'd do it. I promised to have some kind of draft in 1 week. I was now committed. If I showed up next week with nothing, well, I can't even imagine that. As soon as I logged off of the Zoom, my panic monster woke up screaming, "Are you out of your mind? Do you realize what you just signed up for? How in the world do you expect to get a draft done in 1 week when you have literally nothing right now?" I had no idea. I just knew that I had to start writing. So I wrote every day and many nights, which is the consistency I was talking about before, and I got the draft done, sort of. The first few chapters were completed in 1 week. By the end of the summer, I had a third of the book done. Now, here's where I get in trouble. Remember the awesome writer's advice I got to be consistent? Well, I was doing a really good job when I had that 1 week deadline, and then when I had the summer where I had lots of time on my hands. And then this happened. So, once school started, consistency kind of went out the window. Wrapped up in new classes, I had to set it aside for a while. I was way too busy with schoolwork due the next day. I could not commit to this anymore. Except, I knew I had to keep writing. This book was really important to me, and I did want to finish it. Therefore, I created a system. I call it the 10:30 system, and I was so proud of it in the beginning. I set an alarm for 10:30 every night, and my plan was to write for a half hour when the alarm rang. I'll tell you now, that system was a complete fail. I ended up just running to my room every night at 10:30 to turn off the alarm, and then I'd go back to doing homework or whatever else high schoolers do. The other thing I tried was making a mind map. I wrote out a bunch of ideas and stuck them on my wall. But looking back, it kind of looks like one of those murder mystery maps where you're trying to figure out who killed who. I thought it would be a constant reminder to sit down and write. I mean, I'd see it every day, so it had to work, right? Wrong. Sometime while I was creating it, I realized I was just pushing back the actual writing part. I was doing this to hide the fact that I had no idea what to write next. Well, this method of procrastination did not last long because I did not have enough printer ink to print anything. And I did not want to draw stuff out, so I stopped working on it. Still, I left it up with the hopeful thought that maybe it would remind me to work on the book. It is still hanging there today, virtually untouched. But what really got me back into it was my friends. I realized some really important things from my experience through all of this. And the main thing is that if you yourself cannot set a deadline for yourself, then get someone else to set it for you. I told a bunch of my friends about the book. I shared it with them. They helped me edit it. And they also helped hold me accountable. Every now and then, they'd come up to me out of nowhere and randomly ask, "How's your book going?" And every time that happened, I'd feel a wave of guilt for not working on it. And then I'd go home that night and write like a bunch of pages. And then I'd write consistently for a few days until I'd get busy, and then a few days later, I'd get another check-in and get back into writing. Also, you know how you can get those email notifications for changes or comments to a Google Doc? Well, they are surprisingly good reminders to keep writing. And I want to give a shout out to Valerie for being the grammar police and constantly leaving comments that spam my inbox. Not only did the comments help my writing and remind me that I still had a lot to do, they also made me laugh. Looking back, I don't think I would have gotten this far without my friends. They set deadlines for me, held me accountable, but also made me laugh every day. We would joke about the characters and come up with the most random ideas, which would then be overheard by nearby Bay people, who, possibly due to lack of context, would look at us like we were crazy. I mean, we're definitely crazy. It's an indisputable fact of life, but our craziness balances us out in a way that cannot be explained by math or science. I've realized that alone it's really hard to get things done, but together we're a lot stronger, a lot more powerful. We're a force to be reckoned with. So I want to thank my friends and everyone else I've told about this story who have kept me from giving up on it, even the people who haven't actually opened the document yet. You know who you are. Thank you for pushing me to keep writing and for helping me to laugh while I work on this crazy task of writing an entire book. And P.S., as of right now, I have about 200 pages written. So to end, I want to leave you all with this question. What is something you've been procrastinating or something you want to do? And how can you lean on your friends and community for support in achieving your goals? Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to lead a moment of mindfulness. So for 8th grade visitors here at Bay, mindfulness is something that we do regularly during morning meetings, and this is an opportunity for you to practice it as well. In life, it's easy to get distracted and miss out on what's important or right in front of us. Mindfulness helps us come back and center ourselves. It helps us notice what we might need and also what we can offer or give. So I invite you to take a moment, sit up straight, and lower your gaze, close your eyes, and give yourself another space. Notice what it's like to notice yourself breathing. And I'm going to be reading a few quotes from this book that I love. And while I'm reading, just notice your breath and reflect on these quotes, and then I'll ring a bell to end it. One of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things. The greatest illusion, said the mole, is that life should be perfect. Asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up. Imagine how we would be if we were less afraid.
Thank you, Allison, for not only sharing your journey, but yeah, let's do that again, for sure. She definitely embodied sharing a brave space with us and for sharing her mindfulness.